There have been some strange legal occurrences over the last year. I mean, completely bizarre. First was Stuart Dunnings, county prosecutor. That story we're not going to rehash right here, but it was, it was a hot mess, to put it lightly. Now, there's one that comes from fallout. It has to do with an inmate who was brought into court recently in Ingham County, the courthouse in Lansing. He, on video, you can see in the video, jumps and attacks the assistant prosecutor, has in his hand what is described as a shank. Now there are charges that have been brought against him by the state's attorney general. That prosecutor is okay. He was tackled by deputies. The video was released to media. Then an investigation into the judge who released it. A judge, it wasn't her courtroom, but she released this video. And now a lawsuit against the sheriff who did the investigating. It's what to make of all of this? What is going on in the county of Ingham? Let's visit with lawyer extraordinaire and fair labeling, also sponsor of this hour of the show, Andrew Abood. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
What is going on here?
Well, I think you have some unusual circumstance, fortunately, with the type of attack. I mean, it's not unusual to have weird things going on in a courtroom, especially when somebody's going to being sent to prison for a long time or likely sent to prison for a long time. But an attack of this nature is certainly unusual, thank God. And I think we've got different bodies who want to hold somebody accountable. And unfortunately, this is what you get.
So this was Judge Rosemary Aquilina who released this video. It's caught on a camera in the courtroom. The camera was probably above the judge's perspective, looking back, and you could see pretty much everything transpire. Maybe not everything, but pretty darn close. What was the problem with releasing this? Why did that seem to be of such a concern to outgoing Sheriff Gene Rigglesworth?
I don't know that to be true as far as whether she released it or not. I mean,
okay.
I think that's the impression you get from the media stories, but I mean, I guess you have to make that assumption for purposes of this story, but I don't have any knowledge one way or another. But regardless of who released it, I can get why people might be upset about it. Sometimes law enforcement believe that they have this, overriding privilege or benefit to investigate a crime without anybody doing anything. But I think ultimately, anytime you release or disclose truthful information, how can that be a crime?
Yeah, so where was the presumption of possible criminal wrongdoing to begin with here that would lead them to investigate? Don't you have to have that spark? Where would that presumption come from,
Well,
Andrew?
you don't necessarily need a spark. I think under the circumstances, when you have, there definitely was a crime here, right? We have a defendant who attacks a prosecutor. And the real issue that needs to be investigated for sure is how did that weapon, if it's a shank.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just talking about the releasing of. I'm talking about having that video go out there, which is embarrassing. But
that definitely has to be investigated. That definitely has to be figured out. How did he get the shank? Where did he get the shank? If there was a shank, it appears that there was from the video. And then obviously, if the judges feel like that's not something that should be disclosed or released without some type of protocol, if they control their courtroom and they can make a policy or issue a rule, but whether it could actually be a crime or not, obstruction of justice, I'm not sure that. I don't think it's even close to being a crime, especially when it's truthful. Especially when it's nobody's saying that it's not accurate.
Other than an embarrassment to, the law, he got it in there, and you're right. How did he do it? Who knows? That should be investigated fully and completely, and a report given. But other than the embarrassment of seeing that happen and knowing just how worse that could have turned out, I mean, what harm has that done? Again, other than embarrassment, what harm?
Well, arguably, you could say that it's, tainted any potential jurors that might have to judge this individual. But that happens anytime the media covers anything, and we all know today that video is much more prominent in prosecuting cases. It's not unusual for there to be video. The other part of it is, regardless of the timing of it, it's almost automatic that this would have been released at some point. I mean, it would have been something that would have been foilable or part of a file someplace that the media would have been able to get to. So whether it was a day or a week or a month later, I mean, it would probably be out by now.
Is that normal to have every proceeding videotaped in the manner that you saw right here? Is that typical in Ingham County?
It's typical in the circuit court.
Okay.
Ingham County Circuit Court. I'm not sure about the district courts, but most of them have video, and they should.
What about the lawsuit coming back the other way now from the judge? Any take on that?
I think those are tough cases. I think they're tough cases, but obviously she has a lawyer. And tell me what was said that may or may not have been untrue. I mean, I think that just because they're investigating something doesn't make it, I don't know. I think it's a tough case, and I'd prefer that somebody sit down with these two people and put this man, to rest. I don't think it makes any of us look very good, but I can understand why Judge Aquilina would be upset. And she sits there as a sitting duck, and she's not really that type of person. She's a person of action, and you get that when she's on the bench. So she's not going to just sit there and allow somebody to impugn her reputation without fighting back.
Love checking with you on the law. Andrew Abood, Straight Talk here on the Morning Wake Up. Andrew, have a great day. Appreciate it.
Take care.
There have been some strange